The World Health Organization defines youth abuse as all forms of physical and/or emotional ill-treatment, sexual abuse, neglect or negligent treatment, or commercial or other exploitation, which results in the actual or potential harm to a youth. Physical youth abuse relates to acts that cause actual physical harm or have the potential for harm. Sexual abuse is defined as those acts in which a youth is used for sexual gratification. Psychological abuse includes the lack of an appropriate and supportive environment or acts that have an adverse effect on the emotional health and development of a youth. Research has suggested that the profile of a serial murderer typically includes abuse during youthhood. It is possible that this is due to habituation and tolerance of pain, depending on the extent to which the abuse had been experienced as violent or painful. Youthhood abuse has also been associated with later cognitive processing problems, which may lead to an aggressive thought pattern. For example, encoding errors, hostile attributional biases, accessing of aggressive responses, and positive evaluations of aggression. Research has shown that there is a very strong link between early youthhood abuse and individuals who kill for sexual gratification, as previous research has found that all types of abuse, excluding neglect, were significantly higher in the lust typology serial killer population than in a controlled sample. On average, 50% of serial killers suggest that they have experienced psychological abuse, 36% have experienced physical abuse, and 26% have experienced sexual abuse. Therefore, abuse in youthhood is linked to serial killers' later behaviors. However, what is not known is the sequential pathway between youthhood abuse and different types of serial killer. Not all abused youth become serial killers, and not all serial killers are victims of youthhood abuse. However, the connection between the two cannot be dismissed as just coincidence. According to criminologist Dr. Adrian Raine, both biologic and social factors contribute to the making of a murderer. Dr. Raine explains that genetics and environment work together to encourage violent behavior. For example, those with a specific variant of the enzyme monoamine oxidase A gene are more prone to displaying violent behavior if they have had an abusive upbringing. A youth susceptible to genetically driven violent conduct does not necessarily become a criminal. However, genetics, in tandem with environmental factors such as violent youthhood experiences, work together to shape a person. The results of a research study suggests that sexual abuse was potentially connected to the rape, lust, and anger typologies. It was also associated with a tendency for overkill, post-mortem sex, and moving the body to a different location from where the murder took place. Psychological abuse was associated more with rape, lust, and financial gain typologies. Acts of crime associated with youthhood psychological abuse tended to involve torture. In contrast, physical youthhood abuse was found to be associated with the rape-lust typology, as well as behaviors such as carrying out the act quickly, binding the body, and leaving the body at the crime scene. There's also another factor which can influence people to kill, which is fame. Although it may sound like a weird concept, it definitely does exist. The Columbine murders helped to spark awareness of this. Dylan and Eric became glorified by people on the internet even though they took so many lives, including their own, after planting pipe bombs under the school cafeteria tables and opening fire upon their fellow classmates during their rampage. There are people who glorify them even to this day. Some of these people even developed disturbing obsessions with the Columbine shooters, going as far as wanting to go on their own rampage at their own schools. However, even with all of this information, the scary truth remains. Anyone is capable of murder in the right circumstances. You could be sitting next to one right now and you might never even know it.